Hello, friends. Welcome back to our channel. Today we will see a man confront his cheating wife at his wedding. A man was getting married to the love of his life, a woman who he thought knew him well enough that she wouldn't cheat on him. But when he started to suspect that she had been seeing someone else behind his back, he decided to investigate. And what he found shocked him. This is the story of betrayal, deceit, and revenge. The groom was a successful businessman who had worked hard to build his empire from the ground up. He was known for his intelligence, determination, and ability to make shrewd decisions. The bride was a beautiful and charming woman who had captured the groom's heart with her grace and elegance. They were considered the perfect couple, and their wedding was the talk of the town. However, behind the scenes, all was not well. The groom began to notice strange behavior in his fiancée. She was secretive, evasive, and often spent long hours away from him without explanation. Her phone was password protected, and she would become agitated whenever he tried to look at it. He also noticed that she was always dressed to the nines, even when they were alone together. And she seemed to be hiding something under her dress. As the wedding day approached, the groom's suspicions grew. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. So he decided to take matters into his own hands. On the day of the wedding, the groom was a picture of debonair. He looked dashing in his tuxedo, and his heart was filled with love and anticipation for the ceremony. However, as the guests began to arrive, he couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. His bride was nowhere to be seen. He asked his best man to find out what was going on, and soon he was standing in front of the altar with a bouquet of flowers in his hand, waiting for his bride to make her grand entrance. When she finally appeared, she looked stunning in her white gown and veil. The groom's heart skipped a beat, and he couldn't help but smile. All his fears and suspicions were forgotten in that moment, and he was just happy to be marrying the woman he loved. But little did he know that he was about to be humiliated in front of his guests. As the ceremony began, the groom couldn't take his eyes off his bride. He watched as she walked down the aisle towards him, her eyes shining with happiness. The vows were exchanged, and the rings were placed on their fingers. The groom felt like the happiest man in the world. Then it happened. As the groom and his new wife were about to seal their union with a kiss, a voice rang out, loud and clear. "Stop!" The groom froze and turned to see a tall, handsome man standing in the doorway. The man was dressed in a black suit, and he looked furious. "Who are you?" the groom demanded. The man stepped forward and introduced himself. "I'm your fiancé's boyfriend." The groom's blood boiled. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He looked at his wife, who was standing motionless, her eyes downcast. He couldn't believe that she had betrayed him. The man continued, "We've been dating for months now. Your fiancé has been cheating on you." The groom was in shock. He couldn't believe that his wife had been unfaithful. He looked around at the stunned faces of the guests. Some were whispering, others were staring at the couple. It was the most humiliating moment of the groom's life. But he wasn't done yet. The man pulled out his phone and played a video for everyone to see. The video showed the groom's wife and the man in a compromising position. The groom was devastated. He couldn't believe that his wife had betrayed him. But he wasn't done yet. The man continued, "I've got plenty more where that came from. Maybe you want to see them too." The groom was in shock. He couldn't believe that his wife had been cheating on him. He looked around at the stunned faces of the guests. Some were whispering, others were staring at the couple. It was the most humiliating moment of the groom's life. But he wasn't done yet. The man pulled out his phone and played a video for everyone to see. The video showed the groom's wife and the man in a compromising position. The groom was devastated. He couldn't believe that his wife had betrayed him. The video played on, and the groom's worst fears were confirmed. The man was his wife's lover. The two of them had been having an affair for months. The groom felt like he was going to explode. He wanted to confront his wife, but he didn't know where to start. That's when the man in the video spoke up. "You want to know why I'm doing this? Because I'm sick of being behind. I'm sick of being hidden. I'm sick of being the other man. I love your wife and I'm not afraid to show it." The groom was taken aback by the man's words. He had never thought of it from the man's perspective. Maybe the man was right. Maybe he deserved to be with his wife. But the groom wasn't ready to give up. He took a deep breath and said, "You may have won this battle, but I'll win the war." The groom then turned to his wife and said, "Do you love him or do you love me?" The wife was torn. She didn't know what to say. She loved both men, but she couldn't be with both of them. She had to choose. But before she could say anything, the groom cut her off. "Don't lie to me. Don't try to play the innocent. I know you love him. I saw the way you two were looking at each other." The wife was shocked. She couldn't believe that the groom knew so much. She had tried to hide her feelings for the man, but the groom had seen through her. The groom then turned to the guests. "Everyone here is a witness to my wife's infidelity. No one will ever forget what we saw today." The groom was then taken away by his friends. He needed some time to process what had happened. He couldn't believe that his wife had betrayed him. But as he sat down to think things through, he realized that he had been blindsided. He had not seen the signs that his wife was cheating on him. He had been too focused on his work and hadn't paid attention to his wife's behavior. He had ignored the red flags and now he was paying the price. As the groom sat there thinking about everything that had happened, he knew that he had to move on. He deserved better than his wife and he didn't want to waste any more time on her. He had been through enough and it was time to start fresh. The groom decided to use the money he had set aside for his wedding to invest in himself. He took some time off to travel and explore the world. He met new people, experienced different cultures, and made new memories. He also took the time to focus on his health and fitness. He went to the gym, ate healthy foods, and got in shape. The groom was determined to make the best of his situation. He knew that his wife had cheated on him, and he wasn't going to let that define him. He was going to move on and create a life that was even better than the one he had imagined. Meanwhile, the wife was left with nothing. The groom had taken away her lover and her money. She was stuck in a world of her own making, and she had no one to blame but herself. She had made her choices, and now she had to live with the consequences. In the end, the groom was the one who had come out on top. He had lost his wife, but he had gained a new perspective on life. He had learned that it was important to pay attention to the details and not just focus on work. He had learned that it was important to be honest with himself and those around him. And he had learned that it was important to move on from the past and embrace the future. This story serves as a reminder to always be aware of the warning signs and to take action when necessary. It also teaches us that no matter how difficult the situation may seem, it is always possible to move on and create a better future. The groom was able to turn his bad situation into a good one by investing in himself and focusing on his health and happiness. He was able to take his negative experience and make something positive out of it. That's the true definition of resilience.